the NCAA issues a waiver for designated student athletes to enter the transfer portal. I apologize for looking at it because I cannot memorize all this stuff, and I'll put the article in the description below about this. The NCAA Committee on Legislative Relief announced it will issue a one-time waiver to allow Division I athletes that programs place on the designated student athlete list to enter the transfer portal between July 7th and August 5th. The deadline for FBS programs to assign the designated student athletes is July 6th, which is Sunday. Players placed on the designated student athletes list are grandfathered in that are exempt from the new roster limits implemented as part of the House versus Ncaa settlement, which was approved last month. Ross Jones pointed out today, an athlete is eligible to be placed on DSA if he or she would have or had already been removed from the NCAA's roster due to the new House mandated roster limits, and was eligible member of the team during the 2024-2025 season and or recruited and assured a 2025-2026 roster spot by the program. Once placed on a program's DSA list, those student athletes are eligible to transfer this summer without conditions and must be released from their contract prohibitions with their current school. As mentioned, DSAs will not count against their new school roster limits. The grandfathering in designated was the sticking point in California Judge Claudia Wilkins to approve the House versus Ncaa settlement, which we all know that's ushered in direct revenue sharing between schools and student athletes beginning yesterday. As part of the FBS, athletic programs are held to strict roster limits, like football 105, men's and women's basketball 100 to 15, just only to 15, baseball 34, men's and women's soccer 28, softball 25, and volleyball 18, and so on and so forth to go on the list. And initially it was pushed back on the limits being put in place, stating that the House versus Ncaa would not move forward if roster spots were not grandfathered in. And obviously the plaintiff, the Ncaa, along with the plaintiff's attorneys, eventually agreed on the plan and phase and roster limits. Like the plaintiff's attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, told On3, those DSA athletes would be exempt from all roster limits for their entire careers. That includes current athletes cut for next year and high school seniors who were promised spots for next year but had those positions withdrawn. So, and there's another quote, the filing goes as follows: while defendants insisted that the changes to the settlement agreement recognize that individual schools and athletic departments retain discretion to independently determine which athletes will be on their rosters, that has always been the case and remains unchanged. Whether or not there are roster limits or revisions to the House limit ensure that class members who have or would have lost roster spots or promised roster spots as a result of the new roster limits will be in the same position as they would have been in if roster limits were never implemented. For example, roster limits do not apply to them. And we thus believe that this relief is exactly the type of change that the court was seeking, and in fact provides even greater protection for athletes than the court identified. And that was Pete Nakos on this report here. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 800 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 more. So remind this course like video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithm. Some more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well. So more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well.